Ram Ram Ram
Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Ram
Hare Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Ram Ram Hare
वांछा
Hare Hare Krishna
कल्पतरुभ्यश्च
Krishna
कृपा
Ram Ram Ram
सिन्धुभ्यः
Hare
एव च
Krishna Krishna Krishna
पतितानां
Hare Ram Ram
पावनेभ्यो
Ram Hare Hare
वैष्णवेभ्यो
Krishna
नमो
Krishna Krishna
नमः।
Hare Ram Ram
अनंत
Ram
कोटि
Krishna
वैष्णव
Krishna
वृंद की
Krishna
जय,
Ram Ram Hare
रामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। Hare Krishna. This is Shama Supriya Devi Dasi from Houston, welcoming all the devotees to our Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. I welcome all the devotees and thank you so much for joining this call and giving a very beautiful association this morning during this chanting session. And please forgive me for stopping your sincere chanting. And now we will move to our next part, that is our Chaitanya Bhagavat class. So before starting that, can I know who are all joining this morning?
Hare Krishna, Shri Supriya Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada, this is Preeti Vilasini Devi Dasi from Atlanta.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasini Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Mataji, for joining the call and giving your very sweet association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Neetu from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna, Neetu Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Mataji, for joining this call and giving your very wonderful association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sham Supriya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devi Dasi from Texas College Station.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Mataji, for joining the sessions and giving your very wonderful association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sham Supriya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda Gopika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Mataji, for joining the sessions and giving your very wonderful association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept humble obeisance of glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Nurang and all visible devotees. This session is joining from Texas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shishida Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for joining the sessions and giving your very wonderful association this morning. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, anybody on the call would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam. So glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj and all the assembled Vaishnavas. This is Kirtida, Sundari, Dasi.
Hare Krishna, Kirtida Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the sessions and giving your very valuable association this morning, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I welcome all the devotees to our Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call of our Caitanya Bhagavat class. We are having this Madhya Khanda. So before handing the call to Kirtida Mataji, I would like to read Srila Prabhupada quote for today, that is 19th April. Devotional service must continue under all circumstances. This material body is actually a bad bargain because it is prone to suffer. But we must make the best use of this bad bargain. That means to always be engaged in the service of Krishna without failure. Letter to Viruha, April 19, 1975. Jai. Hare Krishna, Kirtida Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the sessions and giving your very valuable association and enlightening on the topic of Caitanya Bhagavat Madhya Khanda. And the verses are from 1.9 to 38, Mataji. Yeah, I hand over the call to you, Mataji. Please take over. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you for your very, very warm welcoming. Thank you each and every one of you for joining us in today's session on the very auspicious day of the appearance day of Gadadhar Pandit. So really, really grateful to each and every one of you. So without further delay, we can start with our invocation prayers and then we will move forward with our Chaitanya Bhagavat session. Om Ajnanaatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchatattva Krishna Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavtaram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Guruve Gaura Chandrai Radhikai Tadale Krishnai Krishna Bhaktai Tad Bhaktai Namo Namaha Anandi Leelamaya Vigrahaya Hema Bhadivya Chavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Ajanulambita bhujau kanikavadhatau Sankirtanai kamalayathakshav Vishwambarau dvijavarau yugadharma palau Vande jagat priyakarau karunavatarau Jayati Jayati Deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandro Jayati Jayati Kirti Stasya Nitya Pavitra Jayati Jayati Bhritya Stasya Vishveshvamurtir Jayati Jayati Nrityam Tasya Sarva Priyanam Mukham Karoti Vachalum Bhangum Langayati Yat Kripahatam Ham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram. That's it. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So before we begin our Chaitanya Bhagavat, as we all know that today is the most auspicious appearance day of Sri Gadadhar Pandit. And in Gaur Ganesh Dipika, Shripad Kavi Karnapura, he writes that the personality in Vraja, who is the daughter of Rishabhanu Maharaj, that's Srimati Radharani, she appeared as Gadadhar Pandit in Chaitanya Leela. So we'll sing one glorification of Sri Gadadhar, Gaur Gadadhar, and then we'll move on. Smara Gaur Gadadhar Keli Kalam Bhava Gaur Gadadhar Paksha Charam Shrunu Gaur Gadadhar Charu Katham Bhaja Godruma Kanana Kunja Vidhum. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes that Smara Gaura Gadadhar Keli Kalam, that we should always remember the beautiful pastimes of Sri Gaura Gadadhar in Vraja as Srimati Radharani and Krishna. Bhava Gaura Gadadhar Pakshacharam. So we should always meditate on that divine couple, that Gaura Gadadhar, who are so beautiful. They surpass all the excellence of beauty. Shunu Gaura Gadadhar Charu Katham. And we should always hear the sweet Charu. Charu means the sweet pastimes of Sri Gaura Gadadhar. And Bhaja Gaudru Makan and Kunja Vidhum. And therefore we should worship Gaura Gadadhar in the forest grove of Godruma. And how? That they are bathed in the light of Vidhum, Kunja Vidhum. When they are bathed in the light of the moon, we should worship, we should meditate on those pastimes of Gaura Gadadhar as Srimati Radharani and Krishna in Vrajalila. Okay, so having said that, we'll move on to our Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. I hope you are able to see my screen. So, we have officially started our Madhya Khanda. We have completed Adi Khanda of Chaitanya Bhagavat. And now we are in the Madhya Khanda of Chaitanya Bhagavat, where yesterday we officially started it. And we saw that how, before starting Madhya Khanda, Vrindavan Das Thakur, who is the author of Chaitanya Bhagavat, he recites few verses as the invocation prayers for auspiciousness, and he paid his obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to Nityananda Prabhu, and to all his associates like Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar Pandit, Jagarananda Pandit, Srivas Thakur, Vakreshwar Pandit, and Kashishwara Pandit. So this way he glorified them, he paid his obeisances to them, and he asked their permission to start this topics of Madhya Khanda. So we'll begin with text number 8. That's the verse for today. Madhya Khanda kathayena amritera khanda je katha shunile gucha antara pashanda. So Vrindavan Das Thakur, before starting the topics of Madhya Khanda, wants to give the Falashruti of this entire Madhya Khanda. And he's saying, Madhya Khanda kathayena amritera khanda. The topics of Madhya Khanda are like amrit, like the drops of nectar. Ye katha shunile guche antara pashanda. And whosoever will hear the topics of Madhya Khanda, then what will happen? The atheism in their heart will be vanquished after hearing the narrations of Madhya Khanda. Before moving forward, I would like to ask, anybody wants to guess why Vrindavan Das Thakur is giving this Falashruti that the atheism will be vanquished from the heart. What does he mean by atheism? Because in the entire Adi Khanda, he's been describing about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's glorifying Nityananda Prabhu. They both have personalities. They are not impersonal. But then he's saying that atheism will be vanquished from the heart of anyone who hears these narrations, especially when he's starting this Madhya Khanda. Why is it so? Why not he was giving this Falashruti in Adi Khanda? Why only in Madhya Khanda? Anybody wants to raise his hand? Raise their hands. Any guess? Okay, Preeti Vilasni Mataji.
I know it's only a guess, but all this while he was establishing the supremacy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in Madhya Khanda onwards, the actual conversations of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his pastimes of symptoms of ecstasy, all that will go on. So atheism means like not having faith in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Is that the understanding? So hereafter, by hearing how the Lord did his pastime, you will develop full faith.
Very nice. You are very close. In fact, you summarized everything. Yes, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, I saw your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Mataji, just want to give a try, Mataji. I don't know if my answer is right. So, Mataji, here, like a lot of people says that they believe Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but then they don't believe him to be as a god. So here, even we heard many pastimes from the Adi Khanda, but we like when we might think him to be a great sannyasi or something, but we are not able to get him to be as a supreme, treat him to be like Krishna. So by hearing Madhya Leela, we will get to the higher stage where we understand, yes, he is a great sannyasi and also he is a supreme personality of Godhead. That is just my understanding, Mataji. You said try it, so I tried it.
It's very good, very good. Actually, you both have said the right thing. So in the Adi Khanda, what was being described was the naughty pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his childhood pastimes, his Pauganda Leela pastimes, his Kumara Leela pastimes, Kaishora Leela pastimes. Till now, all these pastimes were described. About his scholastic pastimes, he being the great Pandit, that is all being described. So now he's saying that the atheism, as you all, both of you rightly said, that atheism means not having belief in God. So remember that in Adi Khanda, everybody was telling Nimai that Nimai, you belong to a cultured Brahmana family. Why you do all these mischievous activities? What pleasure do you get in doing these mischievous activities? So that time, nobody was considering him as God. They were treating him as an ordinary human being. And Nimai was depicting all these pastimes. Even when he was doing his scholastic pastimes, he being a Pandit, at that time also people in Navadvip were trying to avoid him because he'll call everybody and then he'll get into some kind of argument and he'll embarrass the devotees in Nadia. So the people in Nadia sometimes want to avoid the company of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this way, the proper establishment of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna himself, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was still not established. But now, from here in Madhya Khanda, after coming from Gaya, remember, this Adi Khanda ended where Mahaprabhu got his 10-syllable mantra from his spiritual master, Srila Ishvara Puripad. And after chanting that mantra, all the ecstasies of prema were emanating from his body, from his mind, from his thoughts, from his words. And he became Bhavak Nimai. So that time, when that transformation happened, in that transformation, he entered Navadvip. He came back to Navadvip. So our Pandit Nimai, who was depicting the scholastic pastimes of being a great Pandit, has now become a Bhavak Nimai. So what he will do in Madhya Khanda? Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So he will propagate the Yuga Dharma of Nama Sankirtan, the external reason that Mahaprabhu came in this material world. So therefore he's saying, Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying, those who will hear these topics of Madhya Khanda, because in this entire Madhya Khanda, the pastimes of his Sankirtan movement will be established. So those who will hear, the atheism will vanquish. Everybody will believe that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 9 gives the answer. Madhya Khanda Katha Bhai Shuna Eka Chitte Sankirtana Arambha Haila Yena Mate. Oh dear brothers, Bhai, Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying, Madhya Khanda Katha Shuna Eka Chitta, Ek Chit ke saath, attentively hear the topics of Madhya Khanda. Why? Because Sankirtana Arambha Haila. Because from Madhya Khanda, the pastimes, the inauguration of Sankirtan pastimes will be described. So text 10. Gaya kari ailena Shri Gaura Sundara Paripurna Dhvani Haila Nadiya Nagara. Gaya kari ailena Shri Gaura Sundara. So our Gaura Sundar has gone to Gaya, but now he has returned from Gaya to his town, to his Navadvip. And Paripurna Dhvani Haila Nadiya Nagar, and the entire city of Nadia was filled with the news that our Gaura Sundar is back. He is back from Gaya. Dhai lena yata sabha apta varga aache keha aage keha maje keha ati pache. And all the Lord's friends, his associates, his relatives, they came running to see him. Soon came in front, some came in front, some came in the middle, and some came far behind. So everybody ran to see our Gaura Sundar as soon as he stepped in Navadvip after coming back from Gaya. And all the friends were so curious to see the Lord of their life. Yes, our Gaura Sundar is the pran, is the life and soul of all the Navadvip Vasis. So they all went running to see him. Yatha yogya kaila prabhu sabare sambhasa vishvamare dekhi sabha haila ullasa. And our Nimai, who has become a Bhavuk Nimai, who has become more sober now, Yatha yogya kaila prabhu sahara sambhasa. Seeing the eligibility, befitting words he spoke, to elders he bowed down, to his peers, to his equal age, he gave them the embrace. He hugged them, asked about their well-being. And for the juniors, those who are juniors, he talked to them with so much of loving words. So Yatha Yogya, as the people approached Mahaprabhu with seeing their eligibility, Mahaprabhu responded with them. And Vishambhara Dekhi, and seeing Vishwambhara, who is the Lord of their life, Sabha Haila Ullas, everybody became jubilant, everybody became happy. Remember something that tricks you? In Bhagavatam, anybody wants to share? After hearing this, the same pastimes happened.
Krishna, when he meets Yudhishthira, he bows down. When he sees Arjun and Bhim, he embraces, and the Sahadev and Nakul offer us.
Very nice, very nice. Why only Priti Vilasni Mataji is answering? Anyways, so you all should participate, because this will help churn our own minds. Text 13. Aguvadi sabha anile na gajadha ghare tirtha katha sabare kahena vishwambhare. And all they greeted the Lord, accompanied him home, where Vishwambar narrated the topics of his pilgrimage. So here the word Aguvadi. Aguvadi means coming before to greet. Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur in his purport writes, Aguvadi also you can relate, those who know Hindi, ki aage badkar, means they were not waiting for Nimai to come home, But as soon as they hear the news that Mahaprabhu has entered Navadvip, aage bad badkar, people were going and so that they can receive Mahaprabhu at the border of Navadvip and then escort him nicely to his home, where Mother Shachi was waiting along with Vishnu Priya. So they all greeted the Lord and they accompanied him home. So that means they didn't wait for Nimai to come all the way to the home. Rather, they went all the way to the borders of Navadvip as soon as they heard the news, and they all greeted him and they all escorted him to his home. This also reminds us of our Krishna, who was coming to Dwarka. When he was coming to Dwarka, returning to Dwarka after the battlefield of Kurukshetra, after staying in Hastinapur, after the passing away of Bhishma Dev, after the instructions that is being given by Bhishma Dev to Yudhishthir Maharaj, and finally when he passed away, then Krishna, and of course saving Parikshit Maharaj in the womb of Uttara from the Brahmastra of Ashwathama. After doing all this, finally our Lord Shri Krishna returned to Dwarka. And in Dwarka, same situation was there. The conch blows, there were thunders, so much tumultuous sound was there, just to let people of Dwarka know that our Krishna is back. And hearing those sounds of conch shell, hearing the tumultuous sound of all the other yantras, instruments, all the people, they ran towards the border of Dwarka and they want to greet Krishna. They all went there. And why? Because Sukadeva Goswami explains that they have the desire. Actually, Suta Goswami, because this is described in the first canto, the 11th chapter, the Krishna's return to Dwarka. And at that time, Suta Goswami explained to Shaunakadi Rishi, who are the rishis of Naimisharanya, that why they all went to greet Krishna, because Krishna Darshana Lalasa, that Lalasa was there in the hearts of all the Dwarkavasis to see Krishna, because for many years Krishna was out from Dwarka. So they have that Lalasa to see Krishna. So they just can't wait for Krishna to come all the way to his palace. But as soon as they heard this news, they all went to greet Krishna so that they can escort Krishna. And very beautifully in this entire chapter, Suta Goswami describes that how Krishna was greeted so beautifully by everyone. Similarly, here our Navadvip, our Gaura Chandra, our Gaura Sundar is coming back to Navadvip. And people are so excited. So having not Krishna Darshana Lalasa, but having our Chaitanya Darshan Lalasa, they all went. Our Nimai, they all know that still now he is Nimai only. They don't know about his initiated name. So they were thinking that our Nimai has come. So our Vishambar has come. So let's go and greet him. So Aago Vadi, Aage Bad Badkar, coming before to greet him or arriving before him. So they all greeted him, and there Tirtha Katha Sabare Kahena Vishwambare, and our dear Vishambar starting narrating the topics of his pilgrimage. And what Prabhu said, Prabhu bale tome sabakara ashirvade, gaya bhumi dekhiya aino nirvirode. Nirvirode means without any difficulty. Vishwambar is saying that I went to Gaya, performed the oblations to my forefathers, and finally I am back. But all this happened because of your Ashirvad, Toma Sabakara Ashirvad. Because of the blessings of all of you, I was able to visit Gaya, performed the Shraddha ceremony, and came back. This is the humility of Nimai. Through his achar, he is doing the prachar. Now, Nimai, he is the Lord of the universe. He is the Supreme Personality. Why can he say that I need the blessings of all of you? But that's not the case. Here, Nimai is saying that it's because of all of your blessings that I was able to achieve, for which I went to Gaya. So this is the humility that Mahaprabhu is also teaching all of us. Sometimes we are able to achieve something or perform some activity. We should never think that kartaham iti manyate, because the moment we say that kartaham iti manyate, that I am the doer, then Krishna says it's because of ahankar. Ahankara vimodatma, that it's because of the false ego we think that I am the doer. But we are not the doer. We are just the puppets in the hand of that supreme puppeteer. Nachao, nachao, nachao se mate. We are just dancing on his tune. We are dancing on his instruments. The way he wants us to dance, we are simply dancing. So whatever so-called achievement we feel that we have accomplished, we should think that it is only by the mercy of my Srila Gurudev, is only by the mercy of all the Vaishnavas assembled. It's only by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada or our predecessor Acharya, and it's only by the mercy of Lord Shri Krishna. So nothing belongs to me. I am not the doer. I'm just the puppet in the hands of my predecessor Acharya. I'm just a student in their school, and whatever I learned is what I am preaching, is what I'm doing my prachar. So nothing belongs to me. Credit doesn't go to me. So here also, our Gaura Sundar is teaching that he went to Gaya. It's definitely, he is the Supreme Lord, he is Swarat, but still he's giving credit to all the Navadvipvasis, that it's because of your blessings I was able to accomplish for what I went to Gaya. Parama sunamra hai Prabhu katha kai, sabatushta haili dekhi Prabhu ravinai. Paramasunamra hai, the Lord spoke with Paramasunamra. Namra means with Namra bhasha, very namrata ke saath, means out of humility, but Sunamra. Now he's saying, Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying Paramasunamra, with utmost humility. Prabhu said, and everybody, Savatushta haila dekhi, and everybody was very much satisfied after seeing that humility, that Vinaya in Prabhu. Why? Because they remember Nimai as the mischievous Nimai, as the Pandit Nimai. But now seeing the humility in Nimai, everybody was shocked. Everybody was so satisfied seeing that great transformation that happened in Nimai. Text 16. Shire hasta diya dekhi chira jivi kare, sarva anga hasta diya keha mantra pade. Now, everybody was giving their blessings, their wishes, yatha yogya. They were blessing, they were giving his wishes, their wishes to Nimai. Someone placed his hands on the Lord's head, Shira hasta diya. Somebody was placing their hand on Lord's head and giving him ashirvad, giving him blessings. Chiranjeevi bhav means that may you live for chirkal tak, for the eternity may you live, means may you have a very long life. Sarva anga hasta diya keha mantra pade. And some were touching the various limbs of Nimai and were chanting the mantras that our Nimai has safely come back to Navadvip, and may he be protected with all the evil ill omens. Keha vakshe daksha hasta diya kare ashirvada, Govinda shitala nanda karuna prasada. Somebody was touching the heart of Lord's chest. They were touching the Lord's heart and they were blessing him that may Govinda bestow blissful soothing mercy on you. Govinda shitala ananda. Very soothing mercy of Govinda be as a prasad, as a merciful soothing mercy be always on you of Govinda. So Govinda Shitala Ananda Karuna Prasad. That was the blessings that somebody was giving to Nimai by placing their hand on the Lord's chest. Haila Anandamai Shachi Bhagyavati Putra Dekhi Hari Shena Jane Achikati. Now here comes our mother Shachi, who has been longing to see his son Nimai, because Nimai was out for many years, because he went to Gaya and then coming back those days there was no access transportation that you take a flight and you come back next day or maybe in 2-3 days. It took time because they were walking. So Haila Anandamai, our mother Shachi, who is the Bhagyavati, who is the most fortunate, she was also filled with that Ananda after seeing Putra Dekhi, after seeing her son. And she forgot herself. Harishana Jane Achikati. She forgot herself and she was totally drowned in that ocean of Ananda by seeing her dear son. And not only that, then our Vishnu Priya, Lakshmi Rajana Kakule, Ananda Uthila, Pati Mukha Dekhiya, Lakshmira Dukha Gela. Lakshmira, the parents, Lakshmira Janaka Kule, means the parents and relatives of Lakshmi. Actually here, Lakshmi is our Vishnu Priya. Because the first wife of our Nimai, Lakshmi Priya, she has already left the planet. But now Mahaprabhu got married to Vishnu Priya. So when he went to Gaya, Vishnu Priya and Mother Shachi were back in Navadvip. So here Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying that Vishnu Priya, who is an incarnation of the goddess of Lakshmi, her parents, her relatives, her Kula, her Janaka Kula, they all became Ananda, they all became blissful. And Pati Mukha Dekhiya, and she herself when saw the face of her husband, all her distress for so many years, she was bereft of the association of her husband. She was all alone with Mother Shachi. She had that dukkha, that sorrow, that miseries that she had was all vanquished as soon as she saw the beautiful face of her husband. So Lakshmi's distress was immediately vanquished as she looked at the face of her husband. Text 20. Sakala Vaishnava Gana Harisha Haila Dekhite Osei Shane Keha Ke Agala Gela. All the Vaishnavas became pleased. All the Vaishnavas Harisha Haila. They all became pleased. And some of them immediately went to see the Lord. Sabakare Kari Prabhu Vinaya Sambhasha Vidaya Dilena Sabhe Gela Nijavasa. So the Lord, now Vinaya, with very humbly, with folded hands, he spoke to everyone. He greeted everyone. He acknowledged the presence of everyone. Whosoever has come to greet Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu acknowledged everybody's presence and greeted very well, spoke very humbly to them. And finally, Vidaya Dilena, finally with folded hands, he took leave from everybody and he requested that everybody should go back, should return to their Nijvas, go back to their own residence. Then text 22. Vishnu Bhakta Guti Dui Chari Jana Laiya Raha Katha Kahi Bare Vaselina Gaiya. So yes, because there were so many people who came to greet Mahaprabhu, so Mahaprabhu bid farewell to all of them and very humbly acknowledging their presence, he bid farewell. But Vishnu Bhakta, those who are very, very dear associate of Mahaprabhu, Guti means those with whom he can share that confidential topics. Dui char jana, do char log, some few people, they stayed back at the house of Mahaprabhu. Rata katha kahi bare vasili nangiya. And why he made them stay there? Because he wants to discuss the confidential topics with the confidential devotees in a solitary place. So Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur in his purport write, the word Guti means a small number, dui char log, some few people. And there were two kinds of people in this world. The majority become indifferent to the service of Vishnu while trying to enjoy sense gratification in the guise of masters of the material energy, and the minority engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. So for those who enjoy sense gratification, he's saying they are not the people with whom the confidential matters can be discussed, because they have still not become the ripened fruit where we can pluck them from the tree and honor it, offer it to the Lord and finally honor it. No, because they have yet not become ripened So for them, the confidential topics of Krishna Prem cannot be discussed. The 9th offense of our 10 offenses of the chanting of the holy name describes, to 9th offense is actually to discuss the confidential subject matter with the faithless person. So we should not. And this is what Mahaprabhu is also teaching. Mahaprabhu was far and wide not discussing these topics, what he did in Gaya, how he felt, how he met Ishvara Puripad, and how those ecstatic symptoms got erupted in his body, in his mind, in his thoughts. He doesn't want to discuss these confidential topics to everyone. But few people who are the confidential associates of Mahaprabhu, those, Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur is saying, those who are in the service of the Supreme Lord, who are called Vaishnavas or the devotees of Vishnu. For them, Mahaprabhu wants to discuss the topics of Hari in a solitary place with those few Vaishnavas. See, it's very important that we should also not open our heart to each and everyone. There are some confidential devotees with whom we can share our bhajan. Otherwise, Narottam Das Thakur says that we should always try to hide our bhajan. We should not share. Jatha Jatha Namle doesn't share your, the glories or your own bhajan. Bhajan has to be hidden, whatever we are doing. But yes, with some people who are very confidential to us, with whom we can discuss our bhajan, or with whom we can share those pastimes that we hear, and then we know that they will not misguide us and also will not misunderstand us. To them, we can share our confidential thoughts that we have. To them, we can. So therefore, Mahaprabhu is also teaching us that whatever he did in Gaya, what experience he felt in Gaya, he was not telling everybody. Right? What he was doing is he took few devotees with him, and with them he wants to share those confidential parts. So even Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he says that, "Oh Arjun, you have so many questions and I'm trying to answer these questions." But why I'm trying to answer these questions to you? Because he says, "Bhaktasmi sakha cheti." Because you are my devotee, you are my friend, so I can reveal all those confidential topics to you. Krishna says that this Bhagavad Gita, this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, these words of Bhagavad Gita are not for everyone. This is iti guhyam. This is the most confidential. And only my devotees, those who are in my favor, those who are my friend, bhakto asmi sakha cheti, only to them I can reveal these topics of Bhagavad Gita, and only they can be able to understand. Even if somebody gets the copy of Bhagavad Gita, they will not get, because they need the mercy of Shri Guru. They need the mercy of the association of the pure devotees. Only then this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita will be revealed. Therefore, yes, it's true that Bhagavad Gita is spread everywhere, far and wide. We as the book distributors also distributing Bhagavad Gita. But still Krishna says that it is iti guyam, right? It's a Raj Guyam Raj. So it is very, very confidential, because it has to be understood in the right perspective. And how that can be understood? That can only be understood with the mercy of Shri Guru. When we are in the association of the like-minded devotees, then these topics of Bhagavad Gita will be revealed. So it's very important that's why how Mahaprabhu also wants to reveal his things, whatever he did in Gaya, only to the confidential devotees, because he knows that through his confidential devotees only, now he can inaugurate that Sankirtan movement. Because now he has become a Bhavuk-Nimai. He has come to the level that he has to establish that Yoga Dharma. He has to establish that Nama Sankirtan, that Yoga Dharma of Nama Sankirtan. So he cannot do unless and until he shares that with his confidential devotees. So he wants to share everything with his confidential devotees so that his associates can travel everywhere to preach the glories of the Lord. And in this way, he can establish that Yoga Dharma, that Nama Sankirtan. Sei dware pravart lila, Kali Yuga Dharma, Chaitanya re Dasa Jane ei Savanarma. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that to initiate this Yuga Dharma of the age of Kali, it's only through his devotees that Mahaprabhu was able to establish. Se dware pravartaila Kali Yuga Dharma, Chaitanya re Dasa Jane ei Savanarma. Only the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu know the real truth of Mahaprabhu. And that's why they assisted him. The confidential devotees of Mahaprabhu can only understand this transcendental secret of Sankirtan. So therefore, Mahaprabhu wants to discuss. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, who were these confidential devotees? Advaita Acharya, Nityananda, Srinivas, Gadadhara, Damodar, Murari, Haridas, Arayata Chaitanya Krishnera Bhakta Gana, Bhakti Bhave, Shiredhari, Sabaracharana. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that these are the confidential devotees, like Advaita Acharya, like Nityananda Prabhu, like Srinivas Prabhu, like Gadadhar Pandit, like Damodar Das, like Murari Gupt, like Haridas. These were the confidential devotees. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying, Yara Yata Chaitanya Krishna Ra Bhakta Gana. Remembering this, remembering all these wonderful devotees of Mahaprabhu, Bhakta Bhave Shire Dhari Sabara Charana. I bow down to their devotion and I hold all their lotus feet on my hand. So it's very important that Mahaprabhu wants to establish this, that we also have to share whatever bhajan we are doing only to that confidential people, not far and wide. And then what Mahaprabhu is doing? He himself is tasting. Apane kari ashwadane shikhaye bhaktagana. He tasted all that ecstasy he got in Gaya after getting initiated by Ishvara Puripad. But now he is describing all those to his bhaktagana. And shikhaye le bhaktagana. And he is teaching them. Right? So this is how our Mahaprabhu is very, very compassionate, very, very munificent. So the Lord then took few devotees in a solitary place to discuss some confidential topics. And what he said, Prabhu bale bandhu sabha shuna kai katha Krishnera apurva ye dekhilo yatha yatha. The Lord said, oh friends, please hear about the wonders of Krishna that I have seen. Gayara bhitara matra hailana pravesha prathame shunilena mangala vishesha. Then he said, as soon as I entered the abode of Gaya, Gaira bhitara matra hailana pravesha, as soon as I stepped on the border of Gaya, prathame shunilena, the first thing I heard is the Mangala Visheshas, the most auspicious sounds. And what was the most auspicious sound he heard? Sahasra Sahasra Vipra Pade Veda Dhvani Dekha Dekha Vishnu Pado Daka Tirtha Khani. Thousands and thousands of Brahmanas were reciting prayers from the Vedas. And they said, come and see the holy spot where Lord Vishnu has washed his lotus feet. So remember, in the previous chapter, we saw that when Mahaprabhu, as soon as he entered Gaya, after having depicting that fever pastime, and he entered Gaya, so he immediately went to Brahma Kund, he took snan, he bathed himself, he purified himself, and then he heard all the Brahmanas chanting some Vedic mantras, and they all invited him to a place where they show him that this is the place where Krishna washed his lotus feet. So there were the footprints of Krishna. And Mahaprabhu, as soon as he saw, he embraced those footprints of Krishna. Anybody remembers that place? Which was that place from the previous chapter? Okay. I don't know whether you all were attended in the previous. Okay. Yes, Preeti Vilasni Mataji.
Was it the main Gaya?
Chakraveda. It was Chakraveda.
Okay.
That place was Chakraveda, where Mahaprabhu saw the lotus footprints of Lord Shri Vishnu. And as soon as he saw that, Mahaprabhu, as soon as he saw, what he saw was that there were so many flowers, that lotus footprints of Lord Vishnu, of Lord Krishna. There were so many flowers, so many incense sticks, so many sandalwood paste was offered to that lotus feet of the Lord. And there Vrindavan Das Thakur actually explains that these are the same lotus feet that Lord Shiva accepted in his heart. And these are the same lotus feet that Mother Lakshmi never feels tired after massaging them. These are the same lotus feet that were placed on the head of Bali Maharaj. And so he says that one, even for a moment, tila matra, even for a minute, tila matra, if somebody accepts the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna on their head, then he says they will never had conversation with Yamaraj. Means Yamaraj will be far, far away from them. One who meditates on these lotus feet, even for a moment, even for a tila matra. That how small is the sesame seed? Even for that moment, if somebody meditates on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, they will never come under the jurisdiction of Yamaraj. So these are the same lotus feet that now Mahaprabhu is describing. And he's saying, as soon as I went there, they invited me and they said, come here and see, Lord Vishnu has personally washed his lotus feet. Purve Krishna yabe kaila gaya agamana sei sthane rahi prabhu dhuliya charana. So when Krishna previously visited with Gaya, he washed his feet at this place. That was Chakraveda. Yara padoda ke lagi gangara mahatva shire dhari shiva jane padoda katatva sei charana udaka prabhave sei uthana jagati haila padoda katirtha nama. So he's saying now Mahaprabhu is describing and he's saying Jara padoda kalagi gangara mahatva. So Ganga, she became glorified. Why? Because she was being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna. So he's saying that Gangara mahatva, Ganga ka mahatva increased. Ganga, the glories of Ganga increased because she was touched by those lotus footprints of Lord Shri Krishna. And these same lotus feet, after when Shiva realized these glories, he held that water on his head. So we know that how Lord Shiva hold that entire Ganga on his head. Why? Because he knows now that Ganga is becoming glorious because she has been washed by the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. So therefore, Lord Shiva, realizing those glories, now holding the same Ganga on his head. Sei charana udake prabhava sei sthana. And by that influence of that water that has washed the lotus feet, jagate haila padotaka tirthanama. That place where Mahaprabhu where Krishna washed his lotus feet, that place is now known as Padodaka Tirthanama. That place itself became famous as Padodaka Tirtha, where Krishna came and washed his feet. So Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur gives two references from Srimad Bhagavatam. From 1.18.21, he says, who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord but the personality of Godhead Shri Krishna? Brahmaji collected the water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome. The very water, the Ganges, is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva. So this Ganga, she purifies everybody, but how she is getting purified? By getting the touch of Krishna's lotus feet. And seeing her glories, Lord Shiva is holding that Ganga on his head. And then he quotes about Srimad Bhagavatam 3:28-22. I would like to share this verse. Let's spend some time on this verse. It's a very beautiful verse. Yeah, this is Canto 3, Chapter 28, verse 22. I'll not, for the interest of time, we'll not read the Sanskrit, but he says, the blessed Lord Shiva becomes all the more blessed. Why? Because we know what's the meaning of Shiva. Shiva means auspiciousness. Right? But this Shiva, who is already so auspicious, he become more auspicious, more blessed by bearing on his head the holy waters of Ganga. This Ganga, which has its source in the water that has washed the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. This Ganga itself is becoming glorious because she has been touched by the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. And then it says that Lord's feet are like the thunderbolts hurled to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. One should therefore meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time. So yes, one who meditates on the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, they never come under the jurisdiction of Yamaraj. So few classes back, we already spent, I think so, an hour or so in discussing the glories of the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. So definitely we'll not go in extent. But the point here is that we have to understand that the mind of the conditioned soul is so much contaminated. Why? Because they're always in the contact of the material energy. And they're accumulating the heaps of dirt in the form of desire to lord it over the material nature. We all are accumulating these sins. These sins we are accumulating because we want to lord it over material nature. And because of that accumulation of sins, it has become a huge mountain. So now how that mountain will be finished, how we can shatter that mountain? By the hit of that thunderbolt. And Sukdev Goswami says that the hit of that thunderbolt is actually meditating on the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. So when we meditate on the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, then that meditation acts as a thunderbolt, and the mountain of the dirt that we have collected in the form of anarthas, in the form of our desires to lord it over, they get shattered. And another point is also mentioned, that how in the verse we see, it says Bhagavata's Charanaravindam. So it's not that only we can take the meditate on the lotus feet of all the demigods. He says Bhagavatas means of the Supreme Lord, not any demigod. But Bhagavata's Charana means one has to think of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Now, this also refutes the philosophy of Mayavadis who think that Krishna or the Supreme Lord is impersonal. If he is impersonal, if he doesn't have form, then why Bhagavatam is saying that we have to meditate on the lotus feet? That means Krishna has a form. That means the supreme absolute truth is not formless. This also refutes Mayavadi's theory. And then very beautiful point is Shiva Shivo Bhut. The most auspicious Lord Shiva is becoming more auspicious, more blessed by bearing the water that has washed the lotus footprint of Krishna on his head. So he is holding that. So this way, our Krishna, our Caitanya Mahaprabhu is telling the glories of Lord Shiva. And he is saying that this Ganga became glorious due to being touched by the lotus feet of the Lord. And Lord Shiva realized these glories by holding that water on his head. By the influence of that water that has washed the lotus feet, this place has become famous by the name Padodaka Tirtha. Now, as soon as Mahaprabhu repeated the name Pada Padma Tirtha, the tears began to flow incessantly from his eyes. Pada Padma Tirthera Laita Prabhu Nam Ajhare Jharaya Doi Kamalanayan. Very beautifully Vrindavan Das Thakur is writing that from his Kamalanayan, from his lotus eyes, Jhare Ajhara Jhara means the streams of tears were flowing from his eyes. As soon as Mahaprabhu was repeating the name Pada Padma Tirtha, because Krishna's name is non-different from Krishna himself, Abhinnatvam Nam Naminam. So similarly, when he's remembering those lotus feet, when he was embracing those lotus feet in Gaya, when he was remembering this, he was actually associating with the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. So therefore, he couldn't stop his ecstasy. The tears were incessantly flowing from the eyes of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Shesha Prabhu hailena bada ashambhara, Krishna bali khanditela gila bahutara. And eventually what happened, that the Lord lost all his composure, and he just called out the name of Krishna, 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 as he cried profusely. He was unable to control himself. He was unable to conceal himself. Why he's saying conceal himself? Because now he cannot hide his ecstatic symptoms now. It's good that he was only with his confidential devotees, because now it was impossible for Mahaprabhu to hide those ecstatic symptoms. So they automatically came out as soon as Mahaprabhu was reciting and remembering that Pada Padma Tirtha and remembering the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. Bhari lera pushpera vana prema Mahaprema jale, Mahaswasa chadi Prabhu, Krishna Krishna bale. The flower garden was inundated with tears of love, the place where Mahaprabhu was discussing these pastimes with his confidential devotees. And Mahaswasa chadi Prabhu means he took a deep breath. Mahaswas, deep breath, chadi. He was exhaling out that deep breath, and he was saying, Krishna, Krishna, and he was in his totally ecstatic mood. He was chanting with the deep breath. He was chanting the name of Krishna, and the entire place was inundated with the tears of love. Phula ke purnita haila sarva kalevara, sthira nahi Prabhu kampa bhare thara thara. Now Mahaprabhu couldn't conceal his ecstatic symptoms anymore. So his entire body, Pulaka Purnita Haile Sarva Kalevara. Kalevara means his body. So his entire body was covered with the hairs that were standing on end. Pulaka Purnita. Sthira Nahi Prabhu. And now Mahaprabhu is no more Sthira, because Kampa Bhare Thara Thara, because his entire body was shivering. He was not Sthira now. His entire body was shivering, means the ecstatic symptoms he started developing as soon as he was calling out the name Krishna, Krishna. Shriman Pandita Adiyata Bhakta Gana Dekhe na Apurva Krishna Premera Krandana. Shriman Pandit, all the assembled devotees, they all watched as the Lord cried out in the intense love of Krishna, and they themselves were astonished seeing, because they have never seen Mahaprabhu, their Nimai, like that. They have never seen him like this before, because now our Nimai has become Bhavuk Nimai. Chaturdike nayane bahe prema dhara, Ganga yena ashiya karila avatara. Tears of love flowed from the eyes in all directions, as if the Ganga herself has appeared there. So it was not just with few drops of water that the tears were coming out. No, the streams of water was coming out from the eyes of Mahaprabhu. As if it was, Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying, it was looking as if Sakshat Ganga Devi has appeared from those Kamalanain, from this lotus eyes. Mane mane sabi chintena chamatkara, ei mata ihane kabu na dekhi ara. Everybody was struck with wonder and thought, we have never seen him like this, because they have never seen their Nimai crying for Krishna. They have always seen their mischievous Nimai, always arguing on the Nyaya Shastras, always arguing with the devotees, always doing his mischievous activities, troubling devotees in Navadvip. But now, after seeing this emotions that are erupting in Mahaprabhu, they all got struck with wonder, because they have never seen him like that before. Shri Krishna anugraha haila ihane, kive bhava pathe vahaila darshane. And everybody started thinking that maybe because of Krishna's anugraha, it's Krishna's mercy, that Mahaprabhu is behaving like this, because he must have received that mercy of Krishna in Gaya. Something must have happened because of which Nimai is behaving like this. Or he must have seen something very wonderful on his way to Gaya. Bhaya drishti prabhu rahaila katashane, Shesha prabhu sambhasa karila sabhashane. But then after a few minutes, Mahaprabhu came to his Bahira drishti, means Bahira, he regained his external consciousness. He came back to his external consciousness, and then he controlled the entire situation. And what he said, Shesha prabhu sambhasa karila sabhashane. And he started speaking to all those who were present there. But then what he spoke, last verse for today, Prabhu kahe bandhu sabha aji ghare jaya, kali yatha bali tatha ashi bhare chaha. So the Lord, though he came back to his external consciousness, but not fully, not 100%, because he very well knew that the moment he'll start dictating or describing, I'm sorry, not dictating, but describing the pastimes of Krishna, again remembering the lotus feet of Krishna, because now he has to tell everybody that how he met his revered spiritual master, Srila Ishwara Puripad, and how he got initiated. He wanted to tell all these things to his confidential devotees, but he very well knew that I'll not be able to, because I have already started developing that symptom of ecstasy. So this is the time I have to control myself. So he said, Prabhu kai bandhu sabha aji ghara jaya. Now you all can go back home, because I'm not in a situation where I can further describe my experiences in Gaya. I cannot. Though Mahaprabhu knew that he has come back to his external consciousness, but still internally he's right now not in the mood where he can describe all his experiences in Gaya. So he said, Prabhu kahe bandhu sabha aji ghara jao. Aaj to ghar chale jao. I cannot speak any further. Kali yatha bali. I will tell you when we'll meet tomorrow. Tatha ashi bare kachaha. If the Supreme Lord permits, if he allows by the will of the Supreme Lord, we will discuss this katha tomorrow. So now you all please return home. So we will also return back to our work, back to our things, and we'll also give viram, give a pause to this katha here. We'll stop here, and because now Mahaprabhu himself is not able to speak further, so Vrindavan Das Thakur is also indicating us that we should also take a pause here, relish whatever we have heard today, introspect in whatever we have learned today, and we will see tomorrow. Because Mahaprabhu is saying, come tomorrow. So don't fail to come tomorrow. Be present tomorrow, because these are the words of Mahaprabhu. If you want to hear those ecstatic experiences that Mahaprabhu felt, then you have to come tomorrow. He said, I will tell you where you may come and meet me tomorrow. So if we want to meet Mahaprabhu, we all have to join tomorrow's class and see what Mahaprabhu has to share with us. So we'll stop here. Thank you all so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai, Shri Caitanya Bhagavat ki jai. Hare Krishna. Let's see if we have any quick questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. What a sweet
Hare
class,
Krishna.
Mataji. Very, very sweet class, Mataji. As usual, your classes are very sweet. Thank you so much, Mataji. And dear devotees, if anybody have any questions, please raise your hands. I see Preeti Vilasini Mataji raised her hand. Mataji, please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. This was such an amazing class. I was really happy with the whole thing. Mataji, I have a question. I have two questions. First question is this Chakra Tirtha and Pada Padma Tirtha the same or nearby?
Yeah, it's the same. The place itself is known as Chakraveda, the place, but that temple itself is known as Pada Padma Tirtha.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. The other question was, while describing that place, it is said that Krishna himself came and washed his feet here. So is it to do with the of Gaya, or is it that Lord Krishna, when he performed pastimes 5,000 years ago, he went and washed his feet? So
Yeah, when Krishna performed his pastimes 5,000 years ago, that time he went to this place and washed his feet.
Oh, nice. Okay. Maybe it was already covered in the previous class.
Yeah, it was covered in the previous chapter.
And I was not listening then. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for such a beautiful class. It was really, we were completely engrossed and you always grab our attention. Thank you so
I
much.
know you were because you were answering. I don't know about others, but thank you for the opportunity.
No, Mataji, all yours. Thank you so much. You are honored to have me.
Yes, Indulekha Mataji.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, the Lord Pranam. Thank you, Mataji. Such a very, very relatable session. And so nice to see the mood of Lord Chaitanya at this point. Mataji, I did have a question on you would said that at the time of initiation, he also received his, initiated name. Only thing is that the other devotees didn't know about it, right? So was it then that he received the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or?
Yes, because initiation happens when you get all these 5 things. You get Nam, you get mantra. Then,
Okay.
So the mantra, he got that 10-syllable Gopala mantra. And he started chanting that mantra, and he got the name also, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Yes.
Okay, because when I went through the text, I didn't attend last week's class, but when I went through the text, I didn't see that specifically mentioned.
Specifically mentions, but yes, as Mahaprabhu got his initiation from Ishvara Puripad, his name also got changed, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And Mahaprabhu, after taking sannyas, he didn't even change that name.
Right.
He kept that same name.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very, very beautiful class. And I love the part where you explained about how Lord Shiva is accepting this nectar from the lotus feet of the Lord on his head. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, Tanaya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. The main offense is that we should not tell the confidential matter to any faithless person. But when Prabhupada ji went to Western countries, there all people were faithless. So,
Mataji, they're all people
were faithless. They do not believe in God. They were confused. But he explained the confidential.
I got your question. That on one side, we say that we should not instruct this confidential pastimes of Radha and Krishna to a faithless person. On the other hand, we see that Srila Prabhupada came to the Western countries and he gave this Krishna Prem to everybody and discussed all those pastimes and everything to Western people, where Western people were not ready. So this is the risk that devotees take. This is the only offense that the devotees take, even though they think that, okay, I'll not get Krishna Prem, but let all others may get it. So when we also go out and distribute this Bhagavad Gita, we go door to door, we explain them the glories of Hare Krishna. We tell them, but definitely not in that detail where we dive into the esoteric pastimes of Radha and Krishna. But overall, we explain the supremacy of Krishna. We explain them. We go door to door. We know that they are meat eaters. We know that they are not receptive, but still the devotees go. So this is the risk that devotees take. If Prabhupada has not taken the risk at that time, we would have not been here discussing these Chaitanya Bhagavat on Zoom call. So we are doing it because Srila Prabhupada took that risk, traveled all the way from Vrindavan to Western countries, and shared these confidential topics with all of us so that we can also get a glimpse, get a bindu of those pastimes. But yes, this is to be mindful that Prabhupada, even though after coming to Western country, he was still a very grave person, very, very sober. He didn't show all his ecstatic symptoms all in public. Sometimes here and there while giving Bhagavatam class or singing some bhajan, sometimes do tear flow from the eyes of Prabhupada. But otherwise, Prabhupada will never show his ecstatic symptoms in front of everybody. Even when somebody asked Prabhupada that please tell up your Sarup Siddhi, who are you in the spiritual world? Prabhupada kept it confidential. Up to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we know the lineage, entire lineage, who they were in their spiritual deha, in their spiritual body, in their spiritual identity, who they are. But Prabhupada kept it confidential because Prabhupada said, no, if I tell you, you are not the right people to grab that. You all will faint. You are not the right recipient to know who am I in the spiritual world. So yes, Prabhupada took that risk, and we devotees should also take that risk and spread this message of Krishna consciousness far and wide, but have to be very grave, very, very sober. In a sober way, we have to do. Not like Nitai, who is running here and there and giving it to the drunkards and not even realizing anything and still going to Jagai and Madhai and requesting them. But in a very sober way, following in the footsteps of our acharyas, we should spread this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, being mindful that we don't discuss these esoteric subject matter in an open forum. Hope that helps, Tanya Mataji.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dandatma Mataji.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandatma Mataji. Thank you for your enlightenment class, Mataji. Last thing I want to ask, Mataji, as a devotee, we can visit Gaya, no, Mataji? How? Mataji?
Yes, of course you can visit.
We can visit and do Darpana and all, no, that. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for the enlightenment. Thank you.
The place Gaya is now more glorious because our Mahaprabhu went there. So why should we go? We all should go. We all should follow the track of Mahaprabhu. When he went to Gaya, when he did the entire South India Yatra, when he went to Vrindavan, we should go all these places because these places are now tirthas for us because our dear Mahaprabhu went. Right? So we should.
Thank you.
Anyone else has anything to add?
Okay, I think everybody are happy with your class, Mataji. No more questions. I have the same question what Tanya Mataji asked about the how to share our Krishna consciousness. What is the line we have to draw and spread the Krishna consciousness to other people? Yeah, you answered very well, Mataji.
We have to just tell them about Krishna consciousness. We have to educate them. We have to preach them, being mindful of our own achar. We should walk our talk. But apane bhajana yatha na gao jatha jatha. Narottam Das Thakur says, don't tell your bhajan, how many rounds you are chanting, what you are doing. Yes, to confidential friends, you may share. Those who you know will not leak out. But otherwise, tell them about Krishna consciousness. Tell your experiences, that how you got changed, how you got transformed after coming to Krishna consciousness. Through that learning, they will get this, inspiration.
Like inspiration, yeah, inspiration.
They will get that if this thing has happened to us, why not share? Rather, Prabhupada says that if you don't share, you are like a miser. You are a cripple. If you don't, just like a miser person doesn't want to share his wealth with everyone. So this is the supreme wealth we have got in the form of Krishna consciousness. So we should share far and wide. But our bhajan, our internal ecstasies, our internal mood that we developed, what's the need of sharing that? So therefore, Narottam Das, apanere bhajana jata na gao jata jata. Don't sing your glories, because this way you are singing your own glories. So whatever services you do, whatever bhajan you do, you don't have to sing all of them to everybody. No need. But yes, you can always share your experiences, that how my heart got transformed. So why not? I should share so that everybody should get benefit of Krishna consciousness.
Very nice, Mataji. Wonderful. Yeah, Mataji, I think everybody were happy, content with your class. So now, shall we end the class, Mataji?
Sure.
Okay. So once again, thank you so much, Mataji, for giving us this lecturian class. With this, I would like to pay my obeisances to you and all the devotees on the call. Vancha kalpatarupyascha kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, रामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, चैतन्य भागवत की जय, हर ग्रेस कीर्तिदा माता
सुंदरी माता जी की
Mataji ki
जय।
jai. Thank you so much,
Thank you, Mataji.
Mataji.
Koti koti dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji, for the beautiful class. Hare Krishna.
And
Thank you, Mataji.